Welcome to another edition of the DadLands podcast. This gentleman's an old friend of mine. You would know him from his very successful podcast. Your current one is Throughline. You are also F the Crab Feast. Was that was where you gained?
It was just the Crab Feast. Yeah, the Crab Feast podcast.
A lot of people said F the Crab Feast.
Yes,
That became the slogan. You're known as an actor from The Invitation, the new Twin Peaks, David Lynch's television series, and you also have a comedy special out, Me Being Me.
That's correct.
Which they can find on YouTube right now. Mr. Jay Larson is my guest today. How are you, buddy?
Good to be here, bud. Great to see you.
Yeah, I have to do stuff like this to drag you into the valley from your beautiful beach home.
I mean, I will go to the valley whenever, but it's just like you got to get the invite. You know what I mean? So.
You do, yeah. Well, I guess
you get what I'm saying.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Yes. Well, this is a parenting podcast. You have two beautiful children.
Yes, I do.
You have a wonderful boy that I know you love very much, and I guess you also have a girl.
No. Yes, of course. She's the one with the sense of humor, and he's the one who is like the sweet little caring dude. He's funny as well. She's just innately funny, and he tries to be funny.
But when I listened to your special, it sounded like you really wanted all boys.
Well, I just said initially, because I never had a dad really. He kind of like left our family, and we just never had a relationship with him. So for me, I just wanted to be able to like have the experience of the father-son relationship because I never had it. So when I had my son, it was like, oh yes, I'm going to get to have that. And then I had a brother, and I always like wanted this connection with my bro that like it took us so long to become like really close, like into our 30s,
You weren't close as kids?
Nah, we were very different, and we were for a little bit because we were, we just like cared for each other. But then like, when you're an adult, you want to be tight, and it took a long time. So I was like, I just thought it'd be cool. Like, here come the Larson boys. And now that we have a girl, I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. She is. Have you seen the new Star Wars?
I have not.
Okay. At the new Star Wars, my daughter grabbed my wife, and she pulled her close, and she goes, Mom, if I was Rey and my grandfather, because Rey's good and Palpatine's bad, and my grandfather was Senator Palpatine, she goes, I would hug him and I would kiss him. And if he was still bad, then I'd kill him. That is my daughter.
And tell everyone how old your daughter is now.
She's 4 years old.
She's 4 years old.
But she's ride or die.
See, I find that to be really awesome.
Yeah, it's the best. She is hardcore. She is hardcore. My son, if I like raise my voice and like yell, he'll go, Dad, do you really have to get so frustrated? That's my son. And my daughter, when we're driving, she'd be like, drive faster, Dad. You know what I mean? She's ride or die.
So she's going to be the hellion, and your son's going to be the one who's like, she's I saw her at the party. She's staying out all night, Dad. We should go get her.
Yes, 100%.
So how many tattoos is she going to have by the time she's 18?
I don't know, but she likes tattoos. You know what I mean? Like when you get the fake tattoos and stuff.
Yeah, my daughters love those.
Yeah.
My wife wants to pierce my ears. Real quick for the listeners, that is, of course, my producer, Jeff Kilbride, who is chatting in on the side. He's always very inquisitive for our guests. It's
nice to have that.
It's wonderful. Less work for me. I love it. Yeah.
For sure.
My daughter... Now, this week especially, my daughter's 6, and my wife was like, we need to get her ears pierced. And I was like, you're using the word need wrong.
Yeah.
She's 6. I'm like, I don't think they should have pierced ears till like 16.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it.
Yeah. I have no opinion on it. I just don't plan on introducing it because like it's not even in my head.
But your wife is going to dictate how it goes, I feel like, isn't she?
What are you talking about?
Are you in charge?
No, we're a 50-50 household.
Okay, back up, because that's
and if
funny.
if you're not at home, then you just did it wrong.
We talked about this the other day because I feel like most married. I don't know about you. I have a lot of friends who lately have told me they are divorcing.
I have friends that are getting divorced.
Yes,
and I think about it all the time. And by think, I mean fantasize.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I do a joke about it right now where I'm like, I don't ever want to get divorced.
No.
But sometimes I'll walk around the house and I'll look at stuff and I'm like, yeah, if we split, I'm keeping that.
I'm keeping that. Yeah. You say, sometimes you would hear like joint custody and you think, oh, that sounds awful. And then now you're like, joint custody, man, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Like when your friend's like, hey, you want to go to Vegas for the weekend? Yes, I can go. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Those are how weekends work. But we talked about the fact that no corporation has 2 CEOs. So I always found, like, in olden days, back when I was a kid, I don't think parents got divorced because they just were like, we're in this for the duration.
Yeah.
And there was one, like my mother was really in charge, but I think my father was like he was like the monarchy, and then my mother was the government and was like, yeah, you're just here for show and give me the check. She did all the bills, she did everything else.
Yeah.
And they never were getting divorced. Because I think if they lived in nowadays and my mom saw other people's Instagram accounts and was like, why am I living a crap life? Why can't I have this life? I think they probably would have divorced.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think typically when you have two people who, I mean, how do you pick someone that you know you're going to work with? Or are you just both so pliable that you go, yeah, we're in this together. We
are
this work.
not pliable, but we had conversations when we were dating early on about like what we saw what we wanted to do with our kids,
Right.
how we wanted to live our life, how we wanted to parent. So like we had made decisions before we even got in. You know what I mean?
I have never had a conversation like that in my life.
I don't even know if I had a conversation. My wife, first of all, when we were dating, she said, I don't need a big wedding. We could elope. She said a lot of things. And then when we got married, she was like, oh, no, those were all lies. No.
See, my wife said the things and she stuck to it. She said, I don't need a diamond. I gave her grandmother's ring. She loved it. She didn't ever want to celebrate Valentine's Day. That was her thing. Here's the deal. You got to understand something about me. I don't know if you know this, but I talk about sometimes. In 5th grade, in my notebook as a kid in school, I had kids' names already picked out. Like what I was going to name a boy if I had a boy, what I'd name a girl. I wanted kids from way early on.
We had talked about that back in the day. And for the listeners, just so you know, Jay and I, when we first came to town, we both bartended in different bars across the street.
Yeah.
In Santa Monica, you were at the World. I was at O'Brien's.
And O'Brien stayed open later than the World. So when we closed up, we'd go to O'Brien's.
Same
and
with
then
Library Ale House.
They would close O'Brien's, and then we'd all hang out in the back.
We'd hang out in the back. People don't do that anymore, I don't believe.
Yeah.
I think those days are long over.
O'Brien's is gone, right?
O'Brien's is gone. But yeah, and then we both started comedy shows in our separate bars.
Well, you started first, and I was like, oh.
You can do that?
You can do that? And I was like, and you had Thursday night unlocked, so I took Wednesday night.
Yeah. Well, it was the only way to get stage time back in the day. It was like, because I would go to other people's rooms and they go, yeah, we're not putting you on. You're not famous. You're not that funny yet, so who cares? And then once you have a room, then you go, hey, we'll swap time and stuff.
Yep.
So I do remember you being more of a I do remember you being a family guy. And, of course, we went to Fenway, and I met your mom, and she came, 100%. And we all hung in Boston together.
How is Jamie doing? Is he still on that show?
No.
Is he still on that show?
I love her. He's not.
No.
He is not.
He's on another show now, Mom.
Somewhat.
That was always me. By the way, when you say, like, if you had weekends, you go to Vegas, that would be probably maybe not even my top 100 places.
No,
I would
me neither.
Go. You know what I mean?
It was,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, that's the way I've always been. Like, even back when I didn't have kids, I would go on, like, I've always lived a very chill life because I like just, like, I used to go to farmers markets on Sunday mornings when I was
single guy.
Yeah.
So I guess your daughter gets her ride or die attitude from your wife?
My wife's pretty hardcore, yeah.
Okay.
But she gets a little bit. They both have elements of each of us. You know what I mean? Like, now listen, I'm a subdued guy, but like I push the envelope, and I go the I go the distance on stuff. I just like do it in a different way. I was also my mom who raised us. My mom raised 4 kids on her own, and my mother was all about art. That's it. So we would go. My mother worked at a ballet. We would go to the ballet. We would go to the symphony. We go to art museums. My mom's idea of like, now she introduced us to sports like baseball and stuff like this, but we all had to do Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. We all had to play an instrument. And then like for fun, my mother would go to we go to the Boston Commons and we'd sit outside and I'd be like, what are we doing? She's like, we're going to people watch. We're going to sit. My mother just needed time and we would sit and watch people. So like, that's the way I was raised. Those are the things I was raised around. Even to this day, when I travel, I pick up interior design magazines for my trips. I look for, I'm going to a designer show house in Beverly Hills next month because that's what I buy flowers. 87% of the year, there are fresh cut flowers in my house, in my kids' room, in our room, and that's all me. You know what I mean?
I love Architectural Digest. I mean,
I love AD, bro.
I'm the opposite.
I'm on AD all day.
Care less. I just couldn't care less. Like you can look around our house, and my wife's similar to me, where
no, it's pretty obvious.
Our wedding photos are still in a box. Like none were framed and hung on a wall. Like she'll have
First
a day.
of all,
where
there's
she
not
loses
one
her
up in our house either.
We don't have.
That's not. I don't think that's a direct correlation between. appreciating design and architecture, and then being a sap who's got a collage of their wedding photos, and you're just like, dude, what are you doing?
I mean, there is so my wife went to we're going by Pier 1.
This is the
Yeah.
thing. You cut this
I
off.
know.
That's the difference.
Tag.
You cut that off.
But so here's what happens. My wife goes to somebody else's house, and then she sees like the look at the photos on the wall and there's a little plaque above the kitchen that goes home.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would have no idea where you are. And so all of a sudden she goes to Pier 1 and goes, you know what? Let's remind everybody that we're a family.
Yeah.
And then, but it's so half-assed. There's no
take
tag.
that tag off, son.
And then that's...
We have one wedding photo. It's on our mantle. My friend took it, and it's a Polaroid. It's this big. And it's the two of us at the mantle from a distance, and you have to like really look at it. And we love it that it's like
I love that.
subdued. And we have a Polaroid that we take on family vacations. So all of our family vacations are only done on Polaroids. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know how... Polaroids, yeah. I'm familiar with how they work.
And then we gave Reed a Polaroid camera for Christmas, so he's like loving it.
That's what Hannah's is right here. She has her little pink Polaroid camera.
Now,
and
how much does Polaroid film cost?
That's
That's
one.
the problem.
That's where we made a mistake.
And you only
It's
get 10
expensive.
photos per thing. And when you give it to a 6-year-old, those 10 photos are like, oh, great. There's a picture of your foot. There's a picture of nothing.
That's why you got to teach him a little bit, which Jamie is not a fan of. You got to let him know.
No,
Listen, this is what it is. This is how many you get.
We did. But,
I don't know.
her 4-year-old sister got a hold of it and started just ripping them off.
You know what I mean? Well, that's when you got to put him in the closet.
She was, before you got here, my 4-year-old was here, and she was playing with, Hannah has this, like, digital watch that has, like, games on stuff on it, and she is like, do not touch my watch, to Claire. And, of course, as soon as she goes to school, Claire goes right for the 4 things that she says don't touch this, and I go, that's Hannah. She's going to be mad. And the 4-year-old goes, I don't care. I go, what did you just say? She's like, yeah, I don't care.
I
was like, all right, whatever.
Reed got a watch, just a regular watch, you know, like a tell time watch, and he put it together and we made it, and then he like left it at home. And my daughter, so like he goes to school at 8. He's got to be at school at 8:10. So we'll walk to school, and then we come home, and then I take River to school, preschool, and then
We're in the same life, brother.
yeah, and then so she was like, I want to take that watch. And I'm like, you can't take that watch. And she goes, I want to use it. And I go, you can't. It's Reed's. And she's like, I just want to take it to school with me. I go, you can't. It's not yours. And she's like, but when he got it, Erica, our friend, gave it to him, said that he had to share it. I go, that's fine. I'm like, but what happens if you take it into school and you lose it? You're sharing something now that you lost. I'm like, you can't. And she had a meltdown. I go, I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way it's going to go down. I'm like, if you want, you can wear it in the car, and then you're done until you can ask your brother if you can take it to school. You can't take it to school. I'm like, you can wear it in the car. And she threw this fit, and I'm just like, you're going to have to deal with it. We took her to school. At the end of the day, I pick her up. We go pick up her brother. As soon as we get in the car, she goes, Reed, can I take your watch to school tomorrow? You know what my son said?
Sure.
No, River, you can't.
Oh, really?
He goes,
okay, all right.
He goes, because what if you lose it? If you want, you can take it in the car and wear it to school, but then you have to take it off before you go to school. And I started dying laughing because my daughter was like, she thought she like had foiled it. You know what I
Right.
mean? She thought she got through,
Right.
and she's like, nah, bro. Reed knows what's up.
Reed, apparently you and he are on a mind lock there. That's funny.
He gets it, dude.
You talk about the fact that you go full tilt, right? That's what you were saying earlier. Because I watched your bit, and I think a lot of people will know you from your Unknown Caller bit,
Yes.
which is on Conan. It's on Conan's website.
It's on a bunch of places.
It's on a bunch of places.
It's
a great bit. It's
Thanks.
one story. It's a whole late night set, but it shows in a similar vein to, I think, us who are comics and stuff, that ability to not go, I'm getting to take this piece of gold that somebody gives you and accept it, as opposed to going, oh man, because he gets a spam phone call, and of course he picks it up and it goes down this crazy rabbit hole that he goes on.
You ready for this? I just got booked to go to the national convention, the national sales meeting for a giant cell phone company. They're booking me to come and just do that joke. Just do that joke. And I was like, I told my agent, I'm like, take them for everything we can possibly get.
Of course.
A 5-minute
Yes.
set. It's like a 6-minute joke or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
But for those who don't know, you should go check we'll put the link in when I post the podcast. But you answer this phone call, and this guy goes, hey, man, what's up with the budget? And sure enough, off he goes running, improvising.
Well, this is the whole point of my podcast. The through line is I like the simple things in life. Like I mentioned, I like flowers. I like the idea that a tiny little wrong phone number can turn into a giant adventure. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how our whole life my wife and I create for our kids. Our entire world is like, let's turn everything into an adventure and take the little tiniest minute things and make them interesting and special, because that's the only way that they're going to like. Then they're going to appreciate.
Love that.
If they can appreciate the tiniest little things in life, then the big giant things are going to be grand, because everything in the world nowadays is spectacular and giant and lights up, and it's like, get them to appreciate a pile of dirt, and then that stuff will mean so much more, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what my podcast is about, is that in general, you know what I mean? I like little tiny things. So.
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny that you say that, because so many times nowadays, everything's so much white noise that people have. Like, when's the last time you didn't turn on the news and hear them open with breaking news? Everything can't be breaking news, dude. How about just having news and go, yeah, we're still in the impeachment trial, or there's still a coronavirus, or there's still a hurricane. It's not like breaking. The news cycle is 24/7, so nothing is breaking.
Yeah.
Everything is just slowly doling out.
Yeah. They got to get clicks, dude.
That's the problem.
Gotta get clicks.
It's all white noise, and they got to get clicks. And so, until Kim Kardashian says breaking news, no one pays attention to anything. I do that with my kids too, to just go, it's the old movie Yes Man, where he just says yes. Mm-hmm. You have to say yes to everything. And when I watched that bit about your phone call, because I used to do that. We used to get prank phone callers when I had apartments back in the day with the guys, and somebody would call and say something filthy, and my friend would hang up. And I go, next time he calls, give it to me. And of course, he gave it to me, and I went dirtier than he ever could, of like, I will skull blank.
Yeah.
I'll do. And the guy was like, wait, what? And he never called back again. So it's always that premise of saying yes. But you, at the end, part of me wanted to know where it went. Did you ever talk to them ever again?
Oh, yeah, of course I did. I followed up with them.
Because the bit ends on like, oh, all right, where we are with the budget. After it goes down this
After it turns into a conference call, and it's like people have like been researching, trying to find out who I am. Yeah, I basically called the guy back up and told him I was going on Conan and he should watch it, because I'm going to tell the story of what happened. And I asked him, I said, would you be willing to get the other people involved in this situation and do a mini documentary? I'd love to do like a documentary about like what you were working on, what happened when you got the call, who did you talk to next, who did they talk to? Because it circumnavigated entire 2 businesses through 3 people.
What was the business?
So this guy owns a scrapyard in New Jersey. The guy that I got that called me, random guy. He volunteers his time to run books for this like Jewish travel company in Los Angeles that sends people of Jewish descent to Cuba, through like government like fund, whatever it is. And he does like accounting for them. And he was calling to find out, to talk about this budget that had changed. And he must have dialed like one number off, got me, and I just kept rolling with it. And then he probably called back there and was like, listen, I just got off the phone, and like, so that's what he did.
Why wasn't Bruce on the conference call? I was waiting for Bruce to be on the conference call.
I have no idea.
Did you ever talk to Bruce ever?
I never talked to anyone but the guy who called me. And then the 2 women at the company that they basically probably told him like, listen, this isn't real. Let's all call him, or whatever happened. And I told so I left him a voicemail, and then I called him again, left him a voicemail. Then I was doing Conan. I'm like, please watch Conan tonight. I'm doing it, and this is the story. Like, let's do a documentary. And then I called him like a week after Conan, and he's like, yeah, I saw it. I remember who you are. I remember this.
How could he not?
Because before he hadn't remembered it or said he didn't know. Yeah.
Seems like a pretty big deal.
And he's like, I kept trying him, and he was just kind of like, nah, man.
Well, he runs a scrapyard.
Yeah.
You're lucky he didn't whack you. And I mean, it feels like, where was the scrapyard in Jersey?
Yeah, but
isn't that where they bury people?
It depends. It's different kinds of people and different kinds of scrapyards. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money in recycling, if you didn't know.
Yeah, and waste management. I know. I saw The Sopranos. I know how it works. I'm pretty sure that's their business of choice.
I think that's what it is, dude.
I think that's exactly how it works.
So they get rid of them.
And in your special, what's your opening line in your special? Because honestly, it's maybe one of the greatest opening lines in a comedy special of all time.
I married the wrong woman.
Do you know he starts the special like that? And it gets a huge laugh, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, where's this getting going?
You should see my new material. I talk about how my wife's not a good parent, and I say that I see her with the kids, and I'm like, I think I could do this better on my own. That's like, and there's been times where she's like, I'm not comfortable with this, Jay. And then she like, we'll talk it out. I'm like, listen, you know what I mean? And like, But like I've said, it's a very 50-50 relationship.
Now, I feel the exact same way, and most of the guys who've done this show will say they feel the exact same way, but even I haven't. And I do jokes about my wife where I've told some terrible stories about her, and she's like, whatever. But that one would crush my wife if I said, I'm a better parent. You're raising our kids wrong, which, by the way, at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, she took them into the candy store up at Universal Studios, and I was like, this is a terrible idea. It's 8 p.m., and they're walking around with a bag full of gummy worms, just shoveling them into their mouth. I'm like, I can't be part of this.
Yeah.
I should call social services.
Well, that's when you say, all right, you're putting them to bed. Call me when they're done.
Well, I did, and then the next day they're like, they had stomach aches, they're getting sick, and I'm like, yeah, because you shoveled candy into their face at 8 p.m.
Yeah, mine derived from my kids were working with magnetiles, and they were each building a castle with a magnetile, and my son pulled a magnetile off my daughter's because he wanted one, and hers collapsed, and she goes, Reed broke my castle, and my wife goes, you know what then? Knock his down. Go ahead, knock it down. Do it. Knock it down. And my daughter looked at me and she goes, is that a good idea? And I was like, no, it's a terrible idea. That's not what we're doing. I go, Reed, you're going to work with your sister. You're going to rebuild it together as a family because that's what we do. And they sat there for 10 minutes as a team, rebuilt the whole thing. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, what are you doing?
I agree. What is she doing?
I go, what are we teaching? Eye for an eye at 4?
At
I go, get out of here. Go in the other room. You got to get out of my space.
When she's like nuclear deterrence, that's not how this whole premise works. You're supposed to let's try to calm things down.
Yeah, but put it this way. So you ever hike Solstice Canyon? You ever take the girls for hikes?
Yeah, we've done Fryman and
okay.
Where's Solstice?
Solstice is way out past Pepperdine, Malibu. You hike up.
Yeah.
The whole thing round trip is 2.6 miles. You hike up.
And the 4-year-old can do that?
She did it at 3, son. Any kid can do it,
You're not
bro.
carrying her.
No, you push them. You push them. You say, you got it. They go, can you carry me, Dad? I go, yeah, I'll carry you at the top of this next hill. Okay, get to the top of the hill. She's like, you carry me? I'm like, nah, let's get to the next of this. And then go all the way up, and then they forget. So we do it Sunday.
I get it.
And river 2.6. So 1.3 up to the waterfall, 1.3 back. Downhill the second half. And we are literally 400, 500 yards into the hike, and she runs towards me, and she falls, and she totally scrapes up her knee, and she's crying, and she's like, carry me, Mom. And I just let my wife handle it. My wife was like, you got it. Carried her for 20 feet, put her down. She walked the rest of the way. You just put her through it. You got it. We're not backing out of this. And which is that's why I'm saying we're 50-50 because that's exactly what I would have done. Mm-hmm. But at that point, she didn't want me. She wants my wife. And I'm like, well, I'm going to trust that she's going to make her walk this because she's got to grow from it. It's not, everyone thinks you just do that with the boy. You want to here's my deal. I raise my daughter like a boy and I raise my boy like a girl. You know what I mean? I teach him, it's okay if you wear pink. It's not just for girls. You don't say that. You don't make fun of someone for wearing pink. Who cares? You know what I mean? Be sensitive. Be inquisitive. And then I teach her, no, you got to walk that. You got to do that. Because it's just what are we really trying to do? We were talking about how cold it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cold. Mondays at my kids at Reed's school, he's in kindergarten, they do an outdoor assembly, Monday morning assembly. Mm. It was so windy and cold, they canceled it yesterday. Canceled it.
And we're from New England.
Bro.
We're
walking to school. No one's out. It's a ghost town. I see my friend who lives closer than we do driving away with his car. He's like, it's freezing today, huh? I'm like, yeah, why aren't you walking? And we got to school, and I'm like, I can't believe they canceled Monday morning assembly. That's ridiculous. What are we trying to do? What are you trying to do with these kids? We walk the whole way. We get there. I'm like, all right, bro, see you. Bounce.
We bought my daughter's in a school where there were uniforms, and so I go one day and I'm watching the assembly after I drop her off, and all the other kids are wearing sweatpants because it's cold, and my daughter's in little tiny shorts, and I felt like a terrible parent, so I came home that day and we went and ordered sweatpants, and I got them for her, and of course she won't wear them, because she's a tough ass. She's like, I'm not wearing those things.
I love it.
And so the next week she was freezing her ass off, and I go, I got you sweatpants. She goes, yeah, I don't care.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
I do like that attitude. It's funny because we talk about, my wife's not even a helicopter mom. She's like a backpack mom. She's just hanging on, and she would carry that child up the hill, and down. And she's starting to get a little better now that they're older. But when they were little kids, I was like, you're not training them for life,
bro. You ready for crazy? This? From day one of preschool, I've never carried either of them in and never carried their lunch. I told my wife, I'm like, that's the rule. They're going to school. That's their lunch. You got to be responsible for your lunch. You want your lunch?
I say the same thing.
They walk. They walk. They've never been carried in, and they've never carried their own. And I remember one parent said to me, she's like, don't they complain to you about carrying their lunch? I'm like, no, because they've carried it from
day
every
one.
single day.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I look at it, I'm like, I'm not being harsh with them. If you introduce it as this is your first day,
Take responsibility.
and my son was not cool on that first day. He was very he just didn't want to go. He still carried his damn lunch in.
Yeah.
Like, he's still going to cry if I'm
Yep.
carrying him. I'm like, walk in, you carry your lunch, and it's just, you carry it to school, you carry it to the car. We get home, I put it down next to the car, they get out, they carry him in, you go in, you put it in the kitchen, you put your shoes where the shoes go, and then we can get back to, whatever the day is.
Hannah came home the other day and she was like, hey, you forgot to put snacks in my bag. I was really hungry today or something. I was like, those are your snacks. That's a you problem. Those are your snacks.
Is she in charge of her snacks?
I've told her most days, I go pick out some snacks. I approve them.
Yeah.
She's not like getting a bag of chocolate chips and
That's
some Oreo
hilarious.
cookies. But I go, get your snacks, get your water, put your homework back in your bag, and put the whole thing. And she forgot, she didn't take something one day, and then she kind of blamed me, and I was like, it's not my fault. I already went to school.
Yeah.
A long
Trust
time,
me.
my
Yeah,
brother.
long time ago.
Long time.
In the 40s.
Because you're in kindergarten, so Hannah's in first grade, and I'm watching all this thing go down, and part of me is like, everyone's like, oh, I wish I could go back and do it all again. I don't.
Yeah.
I do not want to go back through school.
Yeah.
Like, if I could go back in time, I'd go to, 25. I'd skip the
Oh,
school.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I don't want to go back to high. Everyone's like, oh, man, if I could go back to high school with what I know. It's still, nobody else knows what you know, so it's still kind of, it's not great.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I love is my son is falling in love with school. Loving, he loves the school, he loves the work, he loves learning. It's the best. It's so cool. It's just, kindergarten was a tough transition for him. He's a very sensitive dude, and it was a tough transition. And now he just talks about it all the time. As soon as he gets home, his homework comes out on Friday. And he has till the following Friday to turn it in.
Oh,
So
really?
we spread it out.
Right.
And on Saturday mornings, first thing we do is let's do a couple pages of homework. He's like, okay, gets up, boom, sits right down. And it's the best to watch him love it. But yeah, I don't want to have to go through and learn everything again,
Where do you get to the math part where it's it's not the same math that we did?
I know. You know what's ironic?
I'm already there. I go, wait, this is insane. Why I got to go up to 10 and then back down to 8? What is the point? Can't we just memorize that 7 plus 4 is 11? What?
No. Can I tell you
Yeah.
something? Before new math ever came out, that was how I did math. I've had my own way of
You've
doing
had new
math.
math?
This is how I do math.
Mm-hmm.
I take a box, and then I take numbers, right?
Okay.
So if you added 7 and 4,
Sure.
I would take a 7 and put it here, and I'd take a 4, and I would think to my head, half of that is 2. I put 2 in here, make that 9, and then I would have 2 left over. Or I would do so I always had that
You wouldn't
thing.
take it to 10. You would take the 3 and make it.
I
that's
would
what
just
they
I
try
just
to
had
create.
different variables
Yeah.
of
Yeah, but
numbers.
I always do that too. I don't know what new math is because I don't have kids, right?
Yeah.
But I always round to the zeros and then figure it out from there.
Yeah, that's how I
I always
always
go to the
did
tens
it.
and figure it out from there.
So that's
I
how we're
do the
learning
whole
now.
thing in my head, but I just go. I can see the numbers, and so if it's 75 times 45, you just do the 7 times 4, and then I just place it all and.
First of all, if you can do 75 times 45, you're in the wrong business.
I can do it in my head.
I should have
but
been-
but it'll take me a second to do it. But
My
I can
math
do it.
75 times 45?
Absolutely. That's not
Yeah.
hard.
Well.
I think that's a big number to multiply.
75 times 40. Here's what I would do.
Yeah.
I
Tell
would go
me.
70 times 40, right?
Uh-huh.
Because that's 4 tens.
2,800. Yeah.
Right? So it's 2,800,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
I would do the 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not hard to do.
You
if
do
if
5
break
times
it down.
4.
Yeah.
And then I would do and I'd add
Or
break it
75
down- I
times
break it-
10 is 750 times 4 is
It's 2,800.
3,000. 750
Oh, 750, right.
times
right.
4.
3,000.
And then you got 75 5
Yeah,
more times is
yeah.
225.
Yep.
And boom,
So
you got
yeah,
it.
That's
but
how I'd break it down.
I just wouldn't even mess with it. I'm just talking
Kids
about
today wouldn't even think about trying to do that, though. They would just go, well, where's my phone?
yeah.
Let's do it that way.
Well, that's why he's been doing math, and they have these awesome worksheets that are and so I've been telling him if he's adding 7 and 4, I would say, all right, or let's say 9 and 3.
Right.
I said, Reed, how many do you need from 9 to get till 10? And he's like, 1. I go, okay, then how many if you take 1 away from 3 is it? And he said 2. I go, so take the 1, move it over to the 9, and then what do you have left? And he said 2. And I go, what's 2 and 10? 12. So we've just been doing it that way, and I still want to learn new math, but I love teaching with them. I mean, there's going to be a point where I'm cashed out.
I get frustrated sometimes when I'm because sometimes also she'll say deliberately the wrong answer, and I can see it in her eye, and I go, "You're messing with me, aren't you?" She knows the answer a lot of times, and she won't say it.
Yeah.
She's kind of stubborn. She's got a real, like, we'll put her in the corner before when she's been punished, and then at the end we'll go like, okay, you can come out now, and she just looks at us, and she won't come out of the corner. And I go, well, you're just doing, I love that if you want to sit in the corner for another hour, help yourself. I don't care. But she'll just stare, and she'll, she's that kid who'll sit there for hours and just go, I don't care. I'm going to teach you a lesson. You're not teaching me a lesson,
I don't know what you think you're doing, but I
don't know, dude.
I like your vibe.
So it's been funny. But here's what I love is that I see all your videos, and we're similar in a way that we kind of make breakfast. But let me ask you, because you're a writer, a producer, an actor, you're at the Comedy Store, tons of nights you travel. You're the same as me where you're like, I got to get the first kid to school. I get up, I get the kids ready because we have working wives. And then I get the second kid ready. And all of a sudden I have this gap of time in the day. And then I'm going back to do, and you're like, has it affected the amount of work you get done in a positive way or a worse way?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because there's some days like, I had this office for a long time down the bottom of the hill. And I was like, I'd be looking at the clock, and like once 3:30 hit, I was like, ugh, I only have an hour left, and then I got to go home and then go get her, and then so that started affecting me, and now it's like last night, I always make a to-do list for the next day, right, of what I need to do. Yeah. I'll do it for like what I need to do with them, and then what I need to do for me.
I think it's great.
So I knew that I had to be here at 11, so I wanted to leave at 10, and so another thing I always do with my kids is I always give them a game plan. So we learned this from someone early on that like, on Saturdays, we'll sit down and take a piece of paper and be like, all right, this is what we're doing today. And we'd like make out like a schedule and a goals, and it like helps them. And so today my wife left for her trip this morning. So I get up and I was like, they're like doing these little bead things at the dining room table. They're like making these little bead things. And I go, hey guys, here's the deal. I'm making breakfast. Reed, as soon as I'm done with breakfast, you go get dressed. I got clothes out for you. River, you need to get dressed too. I go, we're not walking to school today because I got to get some stuff done. So everyone's getting in the car with me. We're going to drop Reed, then we're going to go. You got it? And they're like, yeah, got it. And I was like, okay. And then I just like stay on them. So I give them that like to-do list so that they know what's up. You know what I mean?
Yes. Dude, we're so similar.
And then
similar.
I want to come home after dropping River and go to the garage and do an hour of work before I got ready to come over here, because I had this thing on my list. I'm like, this has got to get done before, so that when I get home from this, I can get some other stuff done. And then what I'll do is like, so my wife's going to be gone 3 nights, right? And I have a sitter tomorrow night because I have a show.
You're at the store. Yeah, I always wondered about that. So those are the nights you specifically have to get a sitter to do the show.
So if my wife is gone 3 nights in a week, I'll try and get a sitter one night because I have to get up. I try to do at least 4 shows a week. I have to.
I have not, and I was having like a nervous breakdown last week where I was really anxious, and I was like, I don't know why I feel this anxious. And then it dawned on me, I hadn't been on stage in like a month, and all of a sudden that was our therapy, and I was starting to like get so frustrated that I hadn't done it, and so now I'm trying to be more proactive. But when my wife leaves town, dude, it's almost impossible for me. I'm really having a tough time trying to juggle them. Like last week, I was playground monitor. I drove the kids on a field trip. Everyone was like, all the moms were like, oh, you're like the school dad of the week. And I'm like, this is great. Didn't do one show. Yeah. Really didn't write anything. Didn't get anything done. But I was a great dad for the week.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I'm the same way. Like if field trip, that's why I chose the life and the way I'm doing it.
Right.
I could be doing way more road stuff. I could do tons of
I'm the same.
And I'm just like, that's not what the life I wanted. So I never did it. I never wanted
We've
to
talked about that as well. And Joe, Joe Coy, you just did the Koi Pond. He came into the podcast and he loves the road. But he told me like for the first 6 years of his kid's life, I said, what were you on the road 50 weeks a year? He was like 52. He was on the road every week for years. And I go, dude, I never loved the road. I don't love it, man. I love the shows, but everything else associated with it, I can't stand. Yeah. I really just can't stand it. And especially now that I have the kids, I just don't want to be away. So I deliberately stopped booking gigs. But when my wife's out of town, it's like I can't get anything done.
Yeah. I just like look at it and I'm like, I actually get more done at home when she's not there because she works from home. So like I get more done when I get more done when she's home because then I'm like, I grind. I see her working and I'm working. Yeah. And when she's gone, I keep the house ready. But I'll also like, I know tonight I'll do work. I'll write. I'm like working on this project, and I'll do that tonight when the kids go down.
Right.
So
dude,
it's
sometimes
just a balance.
When the kids go down, I think I'm gonna go. I go, okay, I got all this stuff I'm gonna do, and then the kids go down, and I take that breath, and I'm like, all right, and I put the TV on.
Of course, that happens. I'm not saying every night.
I can't do it, man.
But like
yeah,
I know tonight. I can't wait because I'll get work done. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'll pick them up a little early today so that we can all hang out more, and do some stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's funny because we talked about it too. I think I can say that you've kind of taken a break from having adult beverages, I would say.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
you can say that.
You're pretty open about it. You don't
Yeah,
drink it
yeah.
all anymore.
Huh?
You don't drink it all anymore.
18 months.
18 months.
Year and a half.
We've talked about it. I've talked to other people. I basically retired. I haven't officially quit, but I couldn't do it anymore where I just couldn't have like a glass of wine with dinner on a Wednesday. And then the next morning I was like, because Claire would wake me up at 2 a.m. I would never get my hours of sleep in to kind of get the alcohol out of my system. And then I'd be train wrecked. So I'm like, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Like if we're going on a trip with the wife, and I'll probably have a couple drinks when the kids aren't there. But I can't do both anymore.
See, that was never a problem for me. We would my favorite used to be going to, our joint for Mexican, the kids love is La Cabana. Remember La Cabana? So La Cabana, that was where we would go at 1 a.m.
Get a couple margaritas.
Yeah, hungover, and you get a margarita and
and
eat. And now it's like where we go as a family. And so we'd always go, and the wife and I would each get like 2 margis with dinner.
Yeah, me too.
But booze never, to be honest with you, and this is not any conceit of mine or like bragging or anything. I've never ever complained about like whatever time I have to get up because I always have just looked like, I'll sleep later, I'll rest later.
Right.
I'm always just like, whatevs. Now, that being said, if they get up at 5 and come in my room, I march them right back in the room. Like, go back to bed. You get up at 7. That's when we get up in this house. 7. That's what we've always done. So like, because
don't even come in. I stay until the sun cracks through your window. Don't come into my room.
We tell them if you're seeing light, lay your head back down and then come. And then so Reed will come in. So we got them finally dialed in that they're like 7 o'clock. And then we just say like, all right, go to the living room and play at the Lego table. So he'll go out there and they'll play at the Lego table.
What do you guys do with TV? Because here was the problem. I found that when I was maybe a little banged up the next day, I would be so more apt to just put the TV on.
Yeah.
And then we would just not be as present. I just wasn't as present.
Totally. So our screen time in our home is like, I'd say on average, maybe 4 hours a week.
Tops.
No TV in the morning, no TV during the day. It's at night, and we'll maybe do one school night. Maybe.
We're getting to that. We're at that point now. I think you're right. I think you're totally smart about this.
And then we do usually Friday nights like a movie night. But maybe once a month on a Sunday afternoon, we'll be like, you know what? You guys want to watch a movie? Because we're spent, and then my wife and I can go in the living. Because my kids are like. We're just so the other night we were driving. It's my birthday was yesterday. My birthday. What? So we're driving. We're picking the kids up. We're going to my favorite restaurant on the west side. And I'm just talking to my wife about our day, and the kids just keep going, hey, Mommy. And they're asking questions. She's like, guys, can I talk to Dad for a second? I go, here's the deal. Imagine we're on a plane. Mom's the pilot. I'm the co-pilot. We don't know you. We don't know you. I go, talk amongst yourselves. We'll talk to you at the restaurant. And I turn the music up a little, and we go back to our conversation. Then my son goes, hey, Dad. I go, I don't know you, dude. I will talk to you at the restaurant. And I just went back. And so some Sundays, it's like we don't ever have a chance to have a normal conversation because she works, I work, then the kids are home at 5. And once they're home at 5, we're dialed into them. And then it's 8 when they go down, and then we're exhausted, and I either have to go to shows. Yeah. So we basically, every now and then on a Sunday, we'll do that.
Phone.
And then she and I.
Do you give him the phone
never,
in the restaurant?
Never
Once.
Never. There's no
cat's out of the
iPad
bag
in my
for
house.
us.
No iPad in my house.
Well, they're going to need an iPad.
No iPhone.
Because that's school.
I know, Jamie. You told me this at 2. You don't remember this conversation we had at 2 years old?
I barely remember yesterday when your birthday was.
I remember plain as day.
Yes, and so my daughter, she does IXL now. That's the certificates she's taped all over the wall are because each year in the school they have hundreds of all these little tests and exercises that they have to do on IXL. So now the iPad will be a tool to use for IXL, and then she gets a reward where she can then, if she does a few IXL, she'll be able to watch a show on it. Here's what's crazy about kids today. We have a giant screen television.
Yeah.
And she's like, can I just watch it on my iPad? I go, it's on a big screen. She goes, no, I just want to watch it on the iPad. Yeah. Everything's getting smaller, and that's the way their brain thinks.
Well, yeah, that's because the people that make these things are controlling the kids, and they're taking them in, and they know that they can get everything to them through that damn device.
They are, man.
That's why we fucking don't do it.
Oh, I got to bleep that.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
But
you see how I feel about
that's
it.
That's at minute 39. Remind me.
Yeah.
I got to go back and go potty mouth.
Basically, well, I mean, that was one of the things that before we even had kids, we'd be at a restaurant, we'd see a family like giving the kid an iPad or phone, and we'd look at each other like, we're never doing that, right? And she's like, never. And my friends would be like, well, what do you do when you just want to have a conversation? I go, I get a babysitter, dude. Otherwise, we're there. We're coloring. We're like playing clay. We play games.
Yeah.
And that's just what we do.
We're getting better about it, but we like, at some point, you just go here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm weak. What can I tell you, Jay?
Yeah,
I'm a terrible parent.
I never.
Years from
I'm
now, this will
not-
be evidence used against me when my kids in court.
100%.
And I didn't mean to kill that guy, but my father kept giving me the iPhone.
Yeah.
That's how it ends.
Yeah.
In a horrible tragedy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the rest of life.
Yeah. I'm not
okay.
judging in any capacity. I'm just saying it was a conscious decision for us to be like, no, they don't need it. And now they don't. Like if they go to a friend's house and they bust out an iPad, they'll watch and I'm like, yo, let's come over here. And they just bounce. And then
But eventually they're going. It's like the same. Like
he uses it at school. I know that. Do you
no,
think
not
it's
for the
that
school,
hard
not
to learn?
for that. No, but sometimes like we have a friend and they won't let the kid have anything unhealthy in the house, like no candy. And of course, as soon as the kid goes to school, he's like, he give me candy. He give me candy. He's like eating everything he can get his hands on and stuff. They get that. Sometimes you're almost better letting them work it out early. I don't know. I took a shot.
I don't know about that. I just think it's a very addictive thing. Candy is that thing that they want to
so
have.
addictive.
So I mean, yeah. Do my kids have candy? Do we watch movies? I mean, my kids have seen every Star Wars, but we just like balance it out. Then it gets to the point where my son's like, he's getting like a little aggressive, and we're like, dude, we're taking a time out from Star Wars, and he's like, why? I'm like, because you're getting aggressive. So we're going to watch Sing tonight, or we're going to watch Sesame Street if we're going to watch something. And then we just like, now he gets to the point where he'll go, Dad, can we watch TV tonight? Nothing violent. Nothing that has violence. Maybe like Sing or something like that. And I'll be like,
I can't wait.
and I'll be like, nah, we'll do it maybe Friday.
There's nothing violent, Dad. It's just going to be very, very, very soft, gentle plots, friendship, a lot about
Well,
friendship.
there's a lot of violence in Star Wars,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always want. I'm not. You obviously are a big Star Wars fan.
No, I wasn't at all.
I was not.
I was never into like superheroes or Star Wars. I was sports.
Always sports.
My
Yeah.
kids
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not super into sports.
Because I always had a thing with the lightsaber. I was like, just swinging that thing, it feels like it would at least nick you. Like, how do you learn to use the lightsaber without cutting your
My
arm?
son loves it. We
arm
do it.
off.
We do it in the backyard all the time. He wants to take fencing because we watch Princess Bride. Have you watched The Princess Bride?
Of course.
Yeah,
It's a classic.
So like the kid, he loves it, and we'll just do sword play in the backyard, and
They're
then he'll go,
remaking
Dad,
it.
can you calm down?
They're
Can you not-"
remaking The Princess Bride right
Ugh,
now.
that's junk.
I know, terrible, right?
Why would you ever remake that?
If he wants to fence, then you should definitely have him study a lot because I believe it's an Ivy League thing, right? Like,
Well, it's
fencing
also
is-
super expensive. I already looked into classes.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, dude, it's super.
It can't be more expensive than what Claire loves, which is horseback riding.
Oh yeah,
And we're
that's
gonna
right.
I was going to say polo.
We're going to
Polo's the next
start
step.
horseback riding soon for Claire. I mean, we thought she would grow out of it, but even now she has probably 600 horses, toy horses somewhere in this house.
Wow.
Yeah, just everything's a horse. Everything's a horse, and so she wants to take a horse. Who knows? Maybe she'll ride it once. and go,
Burbank,
this is
right?
terrifying.
Great horseback riding in
I
Burbank.
met some guys who live up the 14 out in like bunker country where people are like, I'm sure there's like
What town?
armories, Acton.
Interesting.
Buddy of mine, like 40 miles up. He's like, hey, no, I know this woman, so she's kind of setting us up with this
Oh,
thing
that's
that we
cool.
might kind of do. Yeah,
That's tight.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to get an animal.
You
know what I mean?
need it.
You're renting an animal. That's
You
why
need an animal.
hockey's so expensive.
Yeah.
You know, we did ice skating for a little bit with Reed, and it was like,
Really?
yeah,
Lessons or just
yeah.
put him
we
on
did-
skates and
no,
go?
lessons, and he never took to it. It was his idea. He never complained once. He went every single week, but he never got past the like
E.
and we were just like, let's take a break from this dude. He just really wanted to do hockey. He just, for some reason,
Right.
loves hockey. But, you know, like today.
Which is funny because you were New England. You didn't play hockey, did you?
No, I played soccer and baseball.
Me too. I
Yeah.
didn't want to get up at 4 a.m. to go to the hockey rink for practice.
I just had a single mom. You're not playing hockey or football with a single mom. You know what I mean?
true. That's
It's just
kinda
not something that happens.
You know, this is interesting, this whole topic, because we got Hannah roller skates for Christmas.
yeah, I saw, and I've
Yeah.
seen videos, and they do great.
Hannah she put them on Christmas morning. She didn't take them off for like we had to take them off after she fell asleep.
But your
at
kids
night.
are pretty athletic, from
Hannah's-
what I can tell.
Hannah's uber athletic, more
Yeah.
so. Claire's a little more girly, but Hannah's uber athletic. And so I was that guy. All of Hannah's friends were like, Saturdays, we'd like, hey, does anyone do a play date? And then I'll be like, oh no, so and so they have a golf lesson at 9. Then they're doing gymnastics at 10:30.
Yeah.
And then we're doing this. And so the whole days we're planning. I go, that's an expensive day. All these lessons are insane. I'm not paying for this garbage. My kid's just going to learn sports, like the old school way back at the park. And then all of a sudden, she kind of got left out of all these groups. And so she would go to school on Monday, and all the girls would be like, oh, we did golf lessons, and we did this. And she was like kind of left out. And so now we've had to go back and go, all right, I guess this is a thing. We're depriving our child by not taking her to all these
No, you're not.
things that she did.
No, you're not.
I know that's what you're going to say. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not. But you're
I'm
not
with you.
depriving them. They're just going to grow a different way. You know what we're not doing? You're going to love this.
I'm going to love this.
We're never taking them to Disney.
Ah!
Never.
That's my bit. Have you seen that bit?
No.
I don't take the kids. I said, no, don't take the kids until they're like 7. Because I go at 3. That's money well spent. Those are memories she's going to cherish for a lifetime. It's the biggest waste of money. Instead, Photoshop. That's how the bit ends. Is Photoshop your kids into them.
And be like,
and
you
then
went.
when the kid's 11, he goes, how come you never took me to Disneyland? I go, what are you talking about, dude?
Look at
This
this.
is you on Mr.
That's
Toad's Wild
hilarious.
Ride. Yeah.
No, but I'm
saying,
saying
and
you're
we're
not
going
depriving
again.
them at all.
We're going for Claire's birthday in like 3 weeks. I think we're going to Disneyland again. I know. You're never going to do it.
I don't know.
Did you ever go?
No, I've never been, and it doesn't matter to me. And I think that since every kid goes, you will have a different perspective in the world by not going. But we have Disney stuff.
Oh, you do?
They like Disney.
See, that's my problem with the whole thing. Like, it's not just the amusement park is like the megaplex for the addict of like, here's all more stuff that you can focus on. I wish from day one we had bought things that had no logos on it.
Yeah, of course. Me
but
too.
we get caught up in the thing, and all of a sudden she wants a different backpack because it's got Bell on it or something.
Yeah,
and you're like, this is stupid. And she won't drink out of a cup that doesn't have. You're like, I want my Bell underpants.
Yeah, you gotta. Do you know what So this is like I made a conscious effort with my son. I said to my wife, I'm like, yo. I would like get him into khakis. I'm like, you wearing khakis, dude? And he's like, I want to wear these sweatpants because, like, when they're little, they can't wear khakis. You have to when they go to preschool, they got to be sweatpants because they got to be able to lift them up and down. And then I was like, so I just started pushing it. I'm like, all right, throw those khakis on. He's like, Dad. And then I go, okay, then wear the corduroys. And then he'd be like, no, I'll wear the khakis. And then he would wear the khakis. Now he wears khakis, corduroys. He's got different pairs of khakis. Right. And I said to my wife, I'm like, I don't want that kid that in their 5th grade picture they wear like it's an Under Armour shirt and shorts and everything's like this basic. You know what I mean? You're basic because you're like, well, everyone wears just like people. No one wants to make their kid be like, no, you got to wear something like for school pictures and like events. Like when we go to things, like we went to like River's dance recital. We're like, Reed, you got to wear, we're going to wear something nice. I'm not putting him in shoes. You know what I mean? It's not like he has dress shoes, but I'm like, you wear those dress sneakers that we got that are navy Vans with like a simple brown thing on them that he never wears. I'm like, that's when you're wearing those. But I think like you got to just like, it's even like with the candy. Like you could let the kids get the candy at 8 o'clock at night, but you could be like, yeah, you get 1 piece each, and then I hold the bags. And then just like if you can stand your ground,
that's what I do.
Yeah, and then then they say like, oh yeah, tomorrow they're gonna wake up. I'm like, can I get my candy? I'm like, after lunch you can have another piece. My kids haven't eaten their Halloween candy yet.
No, we threw ours out finally. I forget where it is. Yeah, we gave them like 2 pieces and threw it out. So when my wife was out of town, I put the kids to bed. They bark at me once or twice from the room, and I go, it's over. The day's over.
Oh, I like
whatever
the day's
you have,
over.
Whatever you have to tell me,
I like that.
We'll talk about it tomorrow. Like, Daddy, I need water. Daddy, I need this. I go, it's over. Well, the clock's punched. It's over.
Yeah.
And so they don't bother me anymore. Like, when they go to bed, they go to bed. When my wife is here, when the kids go to bed, it's this never-ending, can you tuck me in again?
Yeah.
Can you go, I need a water. I need a hug. And so my wife's like, I go, you don't have to go. Yeah. You're training them like a dog.
Yeah, they bend
to bark
it's
at
the
you.
same thing. But I will say this in defense of moms everywhere, the kids have a different. I feel like my wife. I say to her, I'm like, you bend, don't bend. But at the same time, the kids, they have a different yearning for their mom than they do their dad. Now, do most dads are the ones to crack the whip and be like, nah, I'm not doing that. When my wife goes out of town, do the kids go down at 8 and never leave the room, and that's the end of it? Yeah. When she's around, does it sometimes turn into a nightmare? Yeah. But it's because they have that. That's why when we were on that hike the other day, and my daughter only wanted my wife when she fell, and I was just like, I know that she's going to do this the right way. And she did, you know what I mean? And she like, and just stuck and be like, no, you walk it. And it just like, my daughter has gotten so tough. We like show off her scrape. We're like, I go show Brad your scrape, our neighbor. I'm like, go show him. She's like, she runs in, look at my knee. Like when we came home from the hike,
She's a tough ass, man. She's tough.
Well, you know.
What happens when you have a show and you go out and then your wife puts the kids to bed? Is it easier? Does she call you and go like, oh my God, they won't go down. This is a nightmare.
No, she would never. She has called me and just been like,
I've
it's
come
just
home from
like,
shows and they're all awake, watching TV in the bed.
well,
Where I'm like, what are you doing?
What kid is going to go to bed when they could watch TV?
Nothing.
None.
No.
You know
But
what I mean?
I tell my wife, I go, hey, they're not your sorority sisters from college. These are children who need sleep. Their
Yeah.
brains develop. What are you doing?
Yeah.
She's like, I know, but they're so cute. I go, that's not the answer.
Yeah. No, it's, Reed is the easiest. He just say, hop up there, go to bed. He lays down, you scratch his back, you leave. He's asleep within a minute.
Yeah.
River's a little tougher. She's just a little more determined. Like Reed will be like, can you leave the door a crack? I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, all right, good night, guys, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 minutes later, you hear the door shut. It's River getting up, shutting the door. Being like, because they're bunk beds. So he's
Yeah.
up top, she's down below. So she has like a little more freedom.
It's fun now that they get to a point, like Hannah and I have conversations. So when I drive her to school, we have a long conversation. So she was saying something about how I was yelling about something. And I said, well, why do you think I yelled? And so it comes out, of course, I had told her to do something like 15 times. I go, well, okay, from now on, I'll just tell you once to do it. And if you don't do it, then there'll be ramifications. I'll throw it out or you'll be punished somehow.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm yelling is because I'm frustrated because I've asked you 15 times to put your bag. Even this morning, I was like, hey, pack your bag. Hey, pack your bag. Hey, pack your bag. And then all of a sudden, it's time to leave, and I start to walk out the door, and she's like, oh, I haven't packed my bag yet. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see my frustration?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reed will always calm me down. Same deal. I had to sit him down the other day. I go, hey, bud, come over and sit down. We're in the backyard. And he goes, what's up? And I go, I need to know what you like more so that I can help plan, like, activities that you want to do. And he's like, okay. I'm like, so tell me the things you like. Let's go through it. And I threw him some softballs. I'm like, you like Legos? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, good. I go, do you like baseball? And he's like, yes. And I go, okay, cool. I coach baseball. So I'm like, all right. And then I go, do you want to play an instrument? He goes, yeah. I go, guitar? He's like, drums. I go, you sure you don't want to play guitar? And he goes, because I've been pushing guitar on him. He's like, no, drums. And
Sure.
I was like, okay, we'll do drums. And then I go, what about soccer? Do you like soccer? And he goes, a teeny, tiny bit? And I was like, good to know.
Okay.
And like we were at a Super Bowl party the other day, and he's playing, and these other kids are playing basketball. Like they had a Nerf hoop, and Reed wasn't playing. And then I went upstairs and was hanging out with him and some other kids doing Play-Doh, and this kid was playing basketball. I'm like, Reed, do you want to go play basketball with that kid? So he goes over and he starts shooting the hoop. And on the way home, he goes, Dad, when we get home, can we shoot baskets in the backyard because we have a little net out there? And I go, we can tomorrow. And I realized, so then today we're like walking into school. And I see there's like a little basketball net. And I go, Reed, you can always go over there and play basketball with the other guys. And he goes, well, when they play, they like to they play on teams and stuff. And I go, that's okay. You can be on one of the teams. He goes, I don't like playing on teams, Dad, because he doesn't like the confrontation.
Right.
When like he was doing soccer, he did not like having to like fight to go get the ball. But baseball, he loves to throw. He loves to hit.
Right.
He's learning catching better and fielding. He's always in ready position in the field.
Right.
But and like when we go to the golf course, he loves to go to the golf course. But we've realized like he is not a confrontational dude. He likes things to be chill. He likes to know what's going to happen. He doesn't want to have to argue or confront anyone to get something, And we're like, oh, okay. So it's like helping us learn him a little better.
We also don't know what's happening at recess because here's what happened with my daughter in a similar vein of like, why? Because I was like, why don't you want to play soccer or something? She wanted to play basketball. And it turns out at the playground, her friends, she went with her friends.
Yeah.
Wherever her friends are doing, she's still in that phase where, like, I tried to get her to take this. I signed her for an art class at the after school, like an after school art class. She said, I'm not doing that. My friends aren't in it. And I go, what are you talking about? You're in first grade. Trust me, when you're older, you're not going to even talk to these women. This is over. I go, none of us talk to kids from first grade.
Jan, she's catty. You don't see it right now, but she is catty.
Jan is terrible. So I fight, and it's a huge brawl. Like, she's bawling, and I drag her, kicking and screaming. I go, listen, you're going to do this one class. If you finish the class and you don't want to do it again, we'll never do it again. I drag her to the class. Guess who's in the class?
Her friends.
Yeah, her friends are in the class. And she was like, I didn't know you guys were going to be here. And then all of a sudden after class, I go, you want to do it next week? She's like, yeah, that class sounds pretty good.
Oh, dude, Reed's the
I go,
opposite.
why can't people, the peer pressure thing, dude.
Reed doesn't matter at all. All his friends play basketball, and he just goes off and plays with other kids because they play basketball and he doesn't want to. And then we signed him. We put him in the
You
STAR
gotta watch
program.
that now. He's the loner on the side of the playground that they look for. That's
Hell
the guy
no.
in the
He's
van.
Independent. He's independent.
That's
dude.
who they at that age. That's what they look for. The independent kid.
And he wants to be a drummer.
And
Watch
he
out.
wants to be a drummer.
We're working on him, but he does an after school program every day, and now they have enrichments. So like he just signs up for his enrichments, and whoever's in there is in there, and he's been dope about it.
Do you get your heart broken? Like for me, I don't remember ever feeling this bad, and it was something minor. Like my daughter just had her feelings hurt or something, and I was destroyed. I just was hurt so much inside.
By like another kid?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Well, I was just like, wow, this is what this feels like. This is terrible.
Yeah. Especially when they're at that young of age. Well, I told you, he did not adjust to kindergarten. It took 2 months for him to finally just
Was
be
he
like,
crying every day you dropped him off?
Yeah,
Hannah did that.
He did not
Hannah
like
did
it.
that. Hannah did
And
that.
he was great in preschool. He loved it. But this was like a new thing. And then like the teacher.
But he's not the only kid.
No, of course. And
Of course.
everyone's different. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like whatever. We're like,
I want my kid to have some sympathy and be empathetic towards other people and not be that stone cold killer who walks in.
Yeah, you
Like-
know, but empathy's either way. Yeah, I remember one time we were at this playground down by the beach that we used to go to all the time. And this kid, like Reed was like trying to play with them, and this kid goes, "We don't want to play with you." And like they were a little older, and I was like, "Oh,"
I'm
and
gonna
I go,
knock you out.
"I go, guess what? He doesn't want to play with you either." And I go, "And you're fat." I didn't say you're fat, but I did step up and go, "He doesn't want to play with you either." But I didn't call him fat, but I was just like, whew. I was so, it like hurt
I have
so
done
bad.
the exact same thing, and to girls to be like, you're all horrible children, like, and yeah, you want to say terrible things to them.
You want one of the toughest things I've ever had. It wasn't the toughest, but it hurt. So we were at the beach with 2 other families, right? And my son is like playing there's all boys. There's 4 of them all together. One is like a year and a half older than Reed. And they're all in a circle, like talking. They've been playing all day. These kids were going down and like trying to like get crabs and stuff, and Reed wasn't. So like Reed would like hang back a little. He's just like, nah, it's not my vibe. And like the preschool teachers used to tell us, like, you know what's pretty awesome about Reed? And like what? She's like, when his friends are doing stuff they're not supposed to, he just hangs back and he doesn't get involved. Like he knows he's not supposed to. He doesn't say anything, but he just doesn't get involved. So they're at the beach. They're all doing this thing. And then when they come back, they were all together and stuff. So now they're up by us. We're all hanging out, and he's eating. They're all having snacks. And one of the older kids who does Taekwondo is like shadow punching and then punches Reed in the face. Punched him in the face.
What?
Yes. Just punched him in the face.
Deliberately, or was he got in the shadow?
So the parents were saying, like, he didn't mean it, you know, and Reed is bawling. His feet never left. He just was like bawling. And we think he was more like hurt, like, why would you hurt me,
Right.
than that it hurt, you know? And this kid, now I'm going to say this about this kid. He has been sent home from school a number of times for fighting and stuff like that. And he's got, like, he can snap on a dime. But he's also super sweet and, like, super sweet to our kids. And this day particularly, we had said to the parents, like, man, he's being so sweet to the other kid. And, like, I know we've been really working on it with him, blah, blah, blah. And then cut to, 40 minutes later, and he pops Reed in the face. And, like, Kate's about to run over, and I just push her aside. I'm like, I got it. And she's like, all right. And I kneel down in front of him, like, hey, bud, I'm sorry that happened. And I know you're upset, and I can see that you're upset. I'm like, I just want to let you know one thing. We don't hit. I'm like, so we're not going to hit back. But I know you have stuff inside you want to get out right now. So if you want to, why don't you go over and scream in his face? And he walked right over him, and he goes, ah! And I'm like, perfect. Let's bounce. And we left. And it was the best. He went right
He's
up
lucky
to
to
him.
get hit again.
Right up to him, screamed in his
What
face.
the other kid do?
He took it, and he
See.
just stood there like his parents were like, he didn't mean it, and they took him aside. And I wanted to be like, bitch, if my son was swinging a baseball bat to practice, like your son was practicing his Taekwondo, and hit your kid in the face, would I be like, he didn't mean it? No, I would sit him down and be like, what are you doing?
Nobody's that bad at Taekwondo. Where you just ran. You're like, how bad are you at Taekwondo? Oh, dude, I'm practicing. I keep punching people
He's
in the
got
face.
him down in a chokehold. I don't care.
It's an accident. It was just an accident. I was practicing shadow boxing, and he got in the way.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy. Here's what I also think is that, what's the father like? Is he a hitter? Is he a tough guy?
Oh,
Will
they
he
definitely
hit that kid.
They have used that for discipline. I think. I don't know. I can't say because I don't want to, and I like them. I don't. I remember one day I took my son's. class, I went on the field trip, and so I was assigned 4 kids, my son and some of his friends, and one of those, that family's kid was in my group.
Taekwondo Joe.
Yeah, and the kid was great all day. And this isn't this is his younger brother who's my son's age.
Okay.
And like I had them the whole day, and we're having a great time. And I drop him back off at school at noon, and then we go home, and then we come back to pick the kids up, and the mom's there, and I go, hey, I just want to let you know, like, he was so great today. He's such a sweetie. And she's like, oh, that's great. And I'm like, at the beginning, he was like, oh, I wish my mom was here and stuff like that. And she goes, oh, you might need to beep this. She goes, you could just do what I do. And I always tell him, just stop being a pussy. And I just, my wife gasped. And
She said that exact.
oh, exactly what I just said to you. My wife gasped, and I go, I would never, ever say that to anybody. Anybody. And she was kind of like shocked because like they have said stuff. There's like been things in the past that were just like, what are you guys doing? Like,
They obviously took the kid in the basement one day and said, listen, you're going to have to learn to defend yourself. Start punching the bag.
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, I
Like,
think,
that's
I
where
think
they
the
are.
kids lift weights, to be honest. But either way,
In
like
kindergarten.
they're a very athletic family. You know what I
Right.
mean? The kids are very like put it this way. This is how I am. This is me. Their son, they're both good at sports. The one who's my son's age is very good. They were on the same soccer team, and he made this like nasty play and scored a goal. And the dad, who I think I like a lot, and I do like him. I love how involved he is with his kids, and they're not like these kids are like shaking them down in front. You know what I mean? There's just some things that I'm like, I would never do that. You know, there's
Sure.
gonna be things that you like. Oh, I wish I did that, and things I wouldn't do. And so this is how I joke. The son scores a goal, everyone cheers. Dad, who's an assistant coach, just kind of looks at the watch and like doesn't really like do anything. And I just run up to him and I go into his ear and I go, oh, was that not good enough for you? Was that not good enough?
I would do the same thing.
And he starts dying laughing because everyone's cheering and he wasn't. But I think that's kind of how they are. They're just like, they're a little tougher love.
Yeah.
You know, that he's going to be like,
It's good,
Yeah, you
but
scored a goal. That's great.
You could do
should
better.
Score 4 goals.
You should score 4 goals.
They keep score. They tell them you guys won. And I'm just over there with my son being like, doesn't matter who won, dude.
And this is
Did you have fun?
The older kids in what, first grade, second grade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the kid though that's in kindergarten. You know, this is the
Right.
kindergarten kid. And I just say all the time, like, it doesn't matter who won. No one won anything. You're not even doing throw-ins. There was no winning here. Because it was another kid on the team who's really good.
Right.
But he's like crazy sensitive and he's competitive and the parents are competitive and they say they're not. And like this kid, like there was a free kick and he stood in front of the ball. And one of the parents of the other team was like, back up, you're not being kind, which was a weird thing to say. He's not being unkind.
It's not. It's a sport. It's not. This kindness has nothing
Nothing
to do
with it. He's being competitive.
He's being competitive.
And you know what? A ref has to tell you back up 10 paces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On a free kick. You're
Yep.
a soccer player.
Yep.
And the kid took it so personal because he's so fragile and so competitive, and he starts bawling and runs off the field.
Sure.
And I'm helping out that day, so I get another sub to go in. And this is where I think the mother messes up. So the kid's like, oh, she yelled at me, blah, blah, blah. And the mother's like, that's okay, honey. You were not being unkind. And he wasn't. Right? And then she goes, but you know, and I'm like, I go, hey, let me know when you're ready. You got to get back in there. And he's just bawling. And he's like, I'm not going back in if she's in there. I'm not going back in if she's in there. And the mother's like, she won't be in there. She won't be in there. She's not going to be there the whole time. And then he goes, she's like, we'll wait till she's not in there. And she keeps telling him, the kid, like, we'll wait. And then when she's in there, you can go back in the game. And the kid's still crying. And I go, and then finally I just go, you know what, bud? Whether she's in there or not, she will be in there in life.
Yeah.
She is a metaphor for life. She will be everywhere in your life. I go, don't let her dictate your fun and what you do out there. She is going to be in the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And the mom was just kind of looking at me, and that's exactly how I said it to a 5 or 6 year old. And he's just staring at me, and the mom's just staring at me, and she's like, that's right, honey. That's because the mom didn't want to say that.
Right.
But I just want to be like, what are you teaching him that because there's an obstacle, you're going to wait for the obstacle
Yeah.
to go away? Like, just tell him, like,
But that's what people are doing nowadays, and that's why these
reinforce
kids
to him that he
Dude,
wasn't wrong.
depression's at an all-time high. Why, when kids are so coddled, they're unbelievably depressed because there's you need some challenge in life to overcome to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious, man.
I thought it was great.
Are there parents that you don't like at all? I've been pretty lucky where my kids' friends and all the kids at the school, the parents are actually pretty great people for the most part. They all are. I'm probably, honestly, if you said anybody, they'd probably be like, well, Kaler's on the fence.
Yeah, of
but
course.
everybody else, they're all like, yeah, everybody else is great.
Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, most everybody I'm totally cool with. I
Yeah.
think we don't like.
We're comics, though. Sometimes I say things and people don't understand I'm joking, or that, because all of a sudden I was thrown into this new world of people that I'd never met before, and we still have that no editing switch in our brain where I say exactly what I think the same way you do, and I kind of have a similar out point. But other people are like, hey man, what are you talking about?
Well, put it this way: at the kids' preschool, Reed was there for 3 years. I did I do benefits for the school. So like the first year I was in that school, I was like crazy involved. I threw a benefit.
We're doing one right now.
And I'm like, I'll raise this money for the school. So I did 4. So everyone in the school knows me. And now that I'm at the new school, I'm doing one for his school. And like, so they all know that I joke around, but like, there's no parent I don't like. I do. There's some stuff that, like, put it this way: our son's going on a play date to a house where the kid plays Fortnite, and I'm like, I gotta call the mom and be like, yo, if my kid's coming over for a play date and I'm not gonna be there, I don't want to play in Fortnite. That's just a heads up. You know what I mean?
Right. And
they also have a gun in the house, and I have to be like, so where's the gun? Is the gun secure? You know what I mean? Like, I just need to know,
right?
Because like, if I had a buddy over and I knew there was a gun, that's the first thing I'd want to show my friends.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So like,
what was the answer?
I mean, I haven't had that call yet. My wife like set me up for it. She's like, I'm gonna be out of town. They want to do this play. I'm like,
just say no.
No, I want him to go on that play date because these kids are also a little more. I like to put my son in situations, like I tell him all the time. I'm like, listen, dude, if people don't know Star Wars and stuff, you gotta like play other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like you can't have everything your way all the time. So like these kids aren't really into that stuff. They're more like sporty kids, but these are like his 2 buddies from school. And I just want to make sure, like, because if I'm ever at a friend's house, like buddy's house, and then the kid busts out like technology, I'm always like, you have humans here. You can do that some other time. That doesn't need to, we're not doing that now. Why would we ever do that right now?
That's what they do. They sit next to each other in restaurants and text each other. That's why the kids are doing it.
At what age?
Dude, you're the old man on the lawn now.
No, I'm not. What age? What age do you think the kids are texting?
As soon as they get phones is what. Some kids have phones in 3rd and 4th grade, probably.
So like 9?
Probably.
Okay, right. But I'm talking 5, 6, 7, even if whenever.
Yeah.
If put it this way, if I got to be there for the thing, you have human beings there, you're not going to be.
Showtime.
That's just not happening.
It's showtime if Jay's there.
You know what I mean?
Here we go.
Yeah. I have no problem saying it. But by the way, the
dude.
people that I'm saying it to are the same friends that hit us up and be like, we just can't get control of him. He's like, you know, blah, 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 any advice. And we're like, oh, have you tried reading this? Like, here's a really good article on.
Reading
like,
books.
You know, yeah. Like, we have one friends that we love, and they're like our favorite people in the world. And they just have like, they use it as a pacifier nonstop. And I'm just like, hey, try this article. Here's a great way to see a different way to handle this, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you might be the greatest dad we've had on this podcast.
No, please.
Seriously, I love your attitude, and I've seen your posts, and I've known you forever and stuff, and I do think you are onto something. I mean, have you ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah, I already wrote a proposal. I wrote a 60-page. This is how bad my agency is. I wrote a 60-page book proposal,
which is basically, in this day and age, that's a book.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot that goes into a book proposal. If people have a book, understand that before they wrote the book, they wrote a giant proposal. And I got it. I sent it to my agent. He's like, yeah, we don't have a book department anymore. He's like, we have a guy that options books. And they were like, they read it, and they're like, yeah, it's a great idea, but we don't know what to do with it.
Well, you know how you get a book nowadays is just become so insanely famous that they just go, hey, you want to...
Yeah, I know.
You want to put a book out?
I thought about self-publishing it. I started. So it's called Men Make Better Mothers. And I started working on it. And then I was like, what am I trying to do here? Write a book to write a show? I'm like, I'd rather just focus on my other ideas. Yeah. So I have a show idea called.
Well, once you sell the show and become hugely famous, then you'll have a children's book as well as that book and some other books and an Audible book and... just a book deal and stuff. So.
But by the way, my whole philosophy is like, this is what's good for us. This is how I wanted my house to go. So and my wife, that's why we do this. I'm not saying I don't know what's right and what's wrong. We might find out that iPads and iPhones are like cigarettes. We have no clue.
We don't know.
You know, we have no idea. We might find out it's no big deal.
But you let them
nothing.
vape though, right?
They vape like crazy, son. That's where I get my weed too.
Okay, good. All right, listen, we got to wrap this up. But Jay, honestly, dude, there is a book coming. I feel like it somewhere. You got to do more because you do all these comedy podcasts, but this podcast is mostly parents and dads, especially listening. So I think it was really cool that you
I love you, Jamie Kaler.
I know, I love you, Jay Larson. All right, my buddy Jay Larson joining us today. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and definitely troll. Go Go troll Jay. Go
and
look.
check out the Throughline podcast.
Check out Throughline podcast, definitely, and that's just everywhere. iTunes. And
Yes, iTunes.
It's not on
YouTube.
network.
On my YouTube, Jay Larson
Yep.
Jay Larson Comedy.
But watch his special too. Your YouTube specials, Me Being Me,
on
which is
on YouTube. Yeah,
on YouTube,
It's free on
which is
YouTube
fantastic. And I'll put some links and stuff for you. Thanks for coming. Please come do it again
Sure,
because this actually was probably one of the few ones we've had that was I think people might go, that was actually really helpful and informative. Yeah, which is odd for our pod. We never.
Wasn't funny, but I
I
think
think it's funny.
I think I learned something.
But I learned a lot today. All right, that's it. We'll catch you guys next time here on the DadLands podcast.